Hi Gemini, welcome to your story for the week. Let's get it started. What's it about? What will Gemini learn about today? What story will we tell? Got a few cards here. Yeah, 4 cards. Okay. We have the Knave of Swords. The Knave of Swords. The High Priestess. Ooh. The 6 of Pentacles. And the 7 of Wands. I see the story of a young knave sent to pay the local priestess. Okay, now I got the story. Okay, so once upon a time there lived a young knave who ran into some serious trouble with the other knaves in the castle that they all worked in. This knave was incredibly quick, incredibly learned, was developing rapidly in terms of skills, and began to make the other knaves jealous because he was being favored, by the knights, getting to learn even more and to hang out even more and to develop more skills because of how well he was performing. So one morning he found that the clothes he had laid out the night before were missing. His uniform basically, and he went down, he looked around, none of the other knaves were around. He knew somebody had to have taken them. He remembered laying them out. And so he asked around the castle, do you know what might have happened? Nobody had seen anything. But essentially what happened in the night is that his fellow knaves, a couple of them snuck into his room, took his clothes and ran them through horse manure. So the morning was approaching on. He's late to work, basically. And a servant was sent basically up to find him, where is he? And he basically has to recount the story I don't know where my uniform is. It's gone missing. And so he's basically asked to come down in his plain clothes. And once he gets down to basically where the horse pen, the horse quarters, he sees over the main fence what appears to be his own uniform, and it's filthy. And he says, well, why would someone take my uniform? He didn't understand that the other boys were jealous of him, or the other knaves were jealous of him. And at that point, some of the knights around were looking at the situation and were okay, he's being bullied, but we're not going to intervene. We have to see what he's going to do. So basically he went up to his knight that he usually, served and said, my uniform seems to have gotten stolen in the night. I have to serve you plain clothes. I hope that will be all right. And the knight was fine. It wasn't going to be a big deal that morning. He's like, you mustn't lay your clothes out, while they're walking around doing their thing. He's like, you have to hide your stuff. You're shining bright. And when you're shining bright, the other peoples basically are going to want to take advantage and tear you down. He's like, so now you have basically 2 sets of clothes to wash, and he had to wash the clothes of the night. So at the end of the day, his own clothes were filthy. Obviously his work clothes were filthy, and he had to clean the clothing of the night he was serving. So he had a lot of work to do. And obviously his uniform being covered in horse manure was quite a challenge. So he was out in the pens area late, or in the horse area kind of late, because he had to like wash out his clothing, and he was having trouble with it. And just as soon as he like finally finished, and it's starting to get dark, he folds, he hung his clothes up, and started like the next, one. So, he did like one at a time. And while one was being washed, the other was hanging. And then once that was done, he took them down and folded them up. And at the end, they were all folded up, slightly damp. And he decided to take them inside to warm by the fire, because he realized they weren't going to be dry by the next day. Anyway, as he's going in, he gets, the other knaves are like watching, they've been off of work for a while. And one of them decides to stick his foot out and trip him. And so he's tripped, and the clothes like fly everywhere and get dirt and like all kinds of stuff all over them. And he's like, why are you picking on me? And they just laugh and like they run off, basically, like childish, knaves do. And he was again left in the dark to pick up these clothing. And it was a time when he couldn't, they couldn't lock their bedroom doors, they had no privacy really. So he was like, what am I to do? I'm being picked on. I'm being sabotaged at my work. Essentially, I'm going to have my work cut out for me tonight and tomorrow. And he's like, he just starts to spiral like, oh, what am I going to do? Right? So he goes inside and he sits by the fire, and one of the other servants in the household like comes to him and says, hey, why are you so sad? And he basically explains that he's like being picked on by the other knaves and that he doesn't really know what to do. And the servant says, oh, how much money do you have saved? And he says, well, I have six denarii, right? And the servant says, I know of a woman who, if you give 6 denarii to, will stop your enemies from coming after you. How does this woman stop your enemies? She is a powerful priestess. She can judge what is in man's hearts. And if she deems you to be worthy, she can send out a curse against your enemies that will stop them from harming you. Well, isn't cursing wrong? Isn't picking on you wrong? And with that, the servant walks away. So he sits there looking at the fire, wondering, what am I going to do? I need these people, I need these boys to be stopped. I can't have them sabotaging my work. Is it wrong to pay this priestess? If they worked harder, they wouldn't be coming after me. It is not my fault that I am so proficient and they are so lazy. Maybe if they spent more time, working instead of scheming up ways to harm me, they would be doing better. So he sat, thinking, weighing the pros and cons. What should I do? For another hour, and then it had gotten late. And he decides to find this servant and to ask her where to find the priestess. So he searches for her. She had already gone to bed. Knocks on her door, and she says, "You are in luck. I will take you there tonight." He's like, "You would take me there?" And she says, "Yes, I actually have business myself." And he sees that she's already dressed. And she says, "We should really get a move on." So she gives him a cloak, and they go. They leave the property and start walking down the hill, down the hills, to the road, down the road into the village, down the village road, around and around, for what seems like another hour, until they get to a small cottage. On the outskirts of town, and they knock. "Who is there?" "We seek the priestess. We must ask her for help." "I see." And with that, the door opens. And they are met by an elderly woman carrying a lantern. "You must come in." "Are you the priestess?" the knave asked. "Why do you ask me if I am the priestess? Do I look like a priestess?" And the knave says, "Well, I've never seen one before. I don't know what they look like." And this woman laughs, sets her lantern on the table. "Why do you seek the priestess?" she asks. And the girl servant says, "Priestess, I am here because I am here to see the priestess because I need to get a promotion. I've been working in the kitchen for 3 years. I want to become a proper maid." "I see. And why are you here, boy?" And the knave says, "I have jealous peers and they are sabotaging my work." "Sabotaging your work?" "Yes. They went and they took my clothing and they ran it through horse manure. And I had to work in my plain clothes today, and now everything's drying by the fire back in the castle." "Oh, I see. So you seek that they be stopped?" "Yes." "I see. And you seek a promotion?" "Yes." "Well, I can help you." And with that, took off her cloak, and there she was in a marvelous checkered dress of bright red and blue. And she points to the girl. "Your cost will be 3 coins. Your cost," and then points to the boy, "your cost will be 6. "That's it? We don't have to do anything else?" "No, that's all I need. Please pay me. By the time you get back to the castle, everything will be right." And the boy is skeptical, but hands over the 6 denarii. And the girl believes, then she hands over the 3 coins. "Now you must leave me to my work. Goodbye." And with that, she rushes them out the door. And they make the slutty walk back. Hungry, tired, cold. And by the time they get back to the castle, the magic has begun. There's screaming and commotion. Screaming, commotion. Everyone's running about. Basically, what happened in the absence was that the lady of the house was caught fornicating with one of the knights the very night that our young knave served. And essentially, the paternity of the man of the house is called into question. So everything comes out, all of this drama. And the household is split in two. And so, our young maid and our young knave both got jobs in the lady's new household, which was much smaller. But the kitchen maid got a promotion to underhouse parlor maid. We'll just say that. I mean, I don't know if it would technically be a parlor maid, but, you know, housemaid, from kitchen maid to housemaid. And the knave became the only knave serving his master. And they lived in sin, but they lived happily ever after. Thank you for watching, Gemini. Have a good day.